All right, guys, today we're talking about cultivating discipline, systems versus motivation. So, you guys hear me talk about setting up your systems and habits so often when talking about risk management and just overall progression or what you should be doing to cultivate progression in your trading journey. And so, when we talk about systems versus motivation, we're going to talk about the role of systems and discipline, why they're important, and why they're more important and beneficial than relying on motivation. It's pretty straightforward, but there are some actionable, potent stuff in here in today's lesson. And then part two, we're going to be talking about sticking to the plan when motivation fades. And a lot of this is based on how to set up your habits so that you are not relying on any emotional signals or triggers in your life where you can sit down, you have everything laid out perfectly, and you can just execute. And that's where we're all trying to get with our trading career. The further away we are from a structured outline of how we should trade well, the closer we're going to get to inconsistency. And you may still get payouts, but that's not what we're trying to do here. We're trying to develop a skill set that each of us can take and apply to, regardless of what 9 to 5 you have or career path that you're on. You can have a profitable skill set that hopefully, and we're trying to aim our trajectory towards turning trading into a full-time position and then using that money to work for you, leveraging that stuff to buy assets and further investments and all that good stuff. So I said it's going to be quick. Won't keep you guys any longer. Let's jump into it. Part one, the role of systems in discipline. So why systems matter more than motivation? It's pretty straightforward. Motivation is fleeting and often unreliable during stressful or low energy periods. Systems provide structure and consistency, ensuring progress regardless of emotional state. So that's pretty straightforward. It makes sense to all of us, or it should intuitively, but I'm going to repeat that last part one more time. Systems ensure progress regardless of emotional state. And we often talk about how much greed and fear and a countless number of very evocative emotions that come with trading. And we have to be aware of them. We have to be, self-awareness is the first step to all this stuff. But what we're trying to get to is, regardless of our mood, what happened to us yesterday, this morning, we can still sit down and make concise, really well executable trades daily. If, not daily, maybe it's, we take 1 or 2 trades. Like this week, I haven't traded at all. I took 2 trades, I think, in all of December so far. So we just want to be analytical is what I'm trying to say here. So traders who rely solely on motivation are more likely to deviate from their plans, obviously, whereas systems create a reliable framework for disciplined decision making. Again, this stuff is important, but it's overlooked far too often. Systems create a repeatable framework for disciplined decision making. So, all right, we got it. Pretty straightforward. Let's talk about how to, implement this stuff. So, creating a trading plan as a system. So, a solid trading plan includes entry and exit criteria, risk parameters, and daily routines for preparation and reflection. And that last part is so important. A solid trading plan includes daily routines for preparation and reflection. So, for example, instead of relying on that gut feeling, what I see so often is we have general technical analysis, or maybe it's, potentially further than that, amateur, potentially you're getting to a level of deep understanding of what your technical analysis should look like, what your entry criteria should be, what your risk parameters are. All this technical stuff is figured out. And then you get a little amped up when you see people jumping into a trade, even though the market conditions are not fitting to your entry criteria. You may try to shift, or you may force your perspective onto the market and try to make things appear that really aren't there, as far as, okay, yeah, my entry strategy is X and Y, and it's almost there. I can actually kind of see the Y, even though it's not there. And you force that perspective because you want to get into that trade. And a lot of that could be subconscious. A lot of that could you just be wanting to jump into a trade, and there's not a lot of analytical and data driven decision making happening. So instead of relying on that gut feeling, one, we need to bring that to a conscious level and be aware of when that happens. But following predefined criteria such as I only trade when market meets X conditions and my checklist, my pre-trade checklist is complete. That's what we ought to be doing if we want to see long-term consistency. So I highly recommend writing down your trading plan and keeping it visible during trading sessions to reinforce that adherence to the plan. So, and it seriously could be as simple as a small piece of paper. Maybe you write your little criteria in a small piece of journal paper and you tape it to your monitor. I would recommend sticky notes, but that's often not going to be big enough for a lot of people. Maybe it is for some of you who already know your risk parameters very well, like the back of your hand, and you just have a hard time following that plan. Maybe use a sticky note. But for those of you who are at the more beginner stages of this, write down your plan. Hey, if market conditions are volatile, I'm not going to take a trade today. If I haven't taken a cold shower this morning or worked out, I'm not going to take a trade today. If I hit snooze on my alarm, I'm not going to take a trade today. And then my max lot size is 4 micros, and my max loss on the day today is I'm going to put it at $250, whatever it might be for you. I just really, really do recommend having that trading plan visible to keep it, just in the forefront of your brain. And I could dive into why that's so important. Just like in Japan, I know the rail conductors and operators, they use a lot of visual cues to make sure the checklist is completely ready before the train departs the station. And by using things like audio cues and visual cues, like pointing and making sure, and that could be something for you. Like how they might, for their safety checks, point and say, okay, Alpha is complete, Bravo is complete, Charlie's complete, and they're using their arm to point to. You could look at your entry model on the charts on TradingView or whatever platform you're using. Like, okay, this looks like my model. I'm physically going to look and point at my trading plan. Does this line up? Yep. I can point back at my monitor and make an execution. I know that may sound, a bit potentially childish to you, but this stuff is scientifically proven to improve focus, and that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to make analytical decisions and data-driven decisions on all of our trades. So that was a long way to say that put your trading plan in front of you and follow it. Just keep it as a visual reminder during sessions. Highly recommend it. I use it and it works wonderfully. So part 2, sticking to the plan when motivation fades. This can be applicable to all areas of life, but this is definitely tuned towards trading exclusively. So building accountability. Introduce accountability measures like journaling your trades, highly recommend, setting alarms for breaks, and having an accountability partner to stay on track. For many of us who work at home, trading can be extremely difficult because the temptation is always there. If you're running heavy equipment or a welder, that temptation is not always there. It's, in your office at home, or you have to pull out your phone and do all this stuff to make sure that you're able to execute that trade in a manner that is appropriate. But for those of you who work at home and are on the computer, all you have to do is pull up this window and you can make a trade. So introducing accountability measures is really, really important. One, I highly recommend journaling for 1,000 different reasons, but simple things like setting an alarm on your phone. If you know that you're going to be, in a community like ours from 6:15 to 7:15, and we end the session around 7:30 or whatever it might be, it could be really beneficial for you to set an alarm that as soon as 7:30 rolls around or 8 o'clock, you get up and you walk away from the screen. And just getting that mental break, a little shift in perspective, and then coming back to it can be really beneficial, because the more, regardless of how disciplined you are, having the temptation right there in front of your face can be mentally wearing, and potentially you could eventually give in to some bad trades. And it's just, there's nothing good that comes from that. So, and an accountability partner is great. You guys can use, I'm sure right now in the chat, you could say, hey, would you like to be my accountability partner? And someone would jump on that opportunity, because there's a lot of like-minded people who are trying to improve their trading, and a lot of people need an accountability partner. If you're not comfortable with a stranger online, you can use your wife, your friend, your brother, whatever it might be for you. And accountability is just everything in this world. It can be so beneficial to improve your trading progress. So, and just for a more broader perspective on that accountability partner, you could share your trading goals with a peer or mentor, just using the chat to say, hey, I took this trade today. And you may not even expect a response, but just putting it out there and making it public can be a strong motivator for you to stay on track. Or you could share it with a mentor like Jojo or I, and we can provide encouragement and constructive feedback on how to set up habits and systems instead of relying on any emotional factors or motivation. So we're wrapping up today's lesson and I want to talk about, lastly, automating habits. So once you have a really solid structure, a foundation that is, to be beneficial to your trading career, or to improve the skill set that you're trying to develop, you have your pre-trade checklist, like, okay, did I hit snooze today on the alarm? Did I not roll out of bed until right before market open? Did I not take my cold shower? Whatever it might be for you, having that pre-trade checklist is so important. And if you're not following that, you're not taking a trade. And once you have your pre-trade checklist done, you have your trading plan complete, your risk parameters are outlined. Once all this stuff is figured out, now it's time to automate this stuff. And this could truly, figuring all that stuff out could take less than a week. So by new year, you could have a complete trading plan set for yourself that is rooted in scientific facts and stuff that to be beneficial to your trading career. Now we need to automate this stuff. How do we develop habits to ensure that this stuff keeps going? So develop habits that align with your trading system, such as reviewing the market at the same time daily, or following a pre-trade checklist, just like what I was talking about. Using an alarm, not just to wake up and roll out of bed, but alarms can be super beneficial for setting up, certain habits like we're talking about here. Let's say you jump on every single day at 6:15. Let's make a habit at 6 o'clock a.m. You get your coffee, whatever it is. You get your cup of Joe. You sit down and you review the market news. Maybe it's what we post. Maybe it's on your own. Maybe you listen to a podcast like the President's Daily Brief. Whatever it might be for you, that could be extremely beneficial to start to instill discipline every single day. And then, if you don't make that cutoff by sitting down at your desk at 6 o'clock, all right, no worries, I'm just not going to trade today. And that can be really powerful, especially when you miss out on an opportunity because you see a really good setup and Jojo says, you know what, this is exactly what model we're looking for. Market conditions are great. We're going to take an entry. Everybody wins. And you sat on your hands because it's more important to develop these habits and set up your systems correctly than to kind of be like, okay, yeah, I didn't do it today, but I'll do it tomorrow. I'm going to trade anyway. You're just shooting yourself in the foot. It's just going to take a lot of time to recover that mental discipline to continue to improve your systems. But imagine if you take a week to set up your foundations correctly, and then you start to automate your habits, and all of a sudden you have a really structured routine for your trading career. And, some people may be more nonchalant about it, but when we're talking about a skill set that requires a level of emotional detachment to make extremely analytical and data-driven decisions, I think it should be very structured, and the discipline has to be high to find consistency in something like this. And so setting these habits up are just so important. So, you can use tools like calendar reminders or apps to automate key steps in your trading routine, minimizing the need for motivation. And hopefully that was that made sense. But I think a lot of what we talk about is just it's so foundational and we hear it so frequently that it becomes like white noise and we kind of overlook this stuff in our own trading career. But these foundations are the basis of what we we ought to find consistency in. When we think about, high level professional athletes, what they're best at is the foundations. They're, yeah, sure, they have some great dribbling skills or they're able to juke out their player on the football field, or their opponent, I should say. Sure, there's some high level skills that come with this, same with trading, but what those athletes are best at, and the reason that they're at such a high level compared to your average Joe, is how well and how good they are at the foundations of that sport or that skill set. And that's what we need to be focusing on here. These foundational skill sets need to be in place. We need to set up habits that align with our systems, and those systems have to be rooted in a place where the trajectory is towards your long-term trading goals, not short-term gains. You shouldn't, honestly, if you have not found consistency yet, you shouldn't even be thinking about the payout. Sure, it's hard to think about that stuff, or not think about it, I should say, but that's what matters. What we're trying to do is strip away all these external factors that could be pressing on you, like your spouse seeing you trade for the last 2 years, and you can feel that pressure. You can feel the pressure of putting money into this and not getting a return back. All this stuff can be useful, but as far as setting up your systems and your habits, that stuff is just noise. That's not what we ought to be focused on. What we ought to be focused on is like, okay, how can I be as analytical and machine-like as possible to execute trades on a high level? All right, I need to set up my risk parameters, my trading plan, my pre-trade checklist, and my reflection checklist. So after I'm done trading, all this stuff. Then I just automate, make these habits reinforceable, and I execute. So I leave you guys with this. Discipline is the backbone of successful trading, and systems are the foundation of discipline. Let me say it one more time for you guys. Discipline is the backbone of successful trading, and your systems are the foundation of this discipline. So by creating a structured trading plan, building accountability, and automating habits, you can stay consistent and focused even when motivation fades. So hopefully, and I'm just going to put that in the chat. There's only a couple of us in here, so you guys can read that. But this stuff is so important, and I hope you guys do take this to heart, because I know from my own experience, not speaking from anywhere else, but my own experience, being a part of many different trading communities and watching YouTube videos and all this stuff, you're looking for this, or at least I was looking for this, this hail or this holy grail of a trading strategy or an indicator that just makes sense and it works every time, and that's what I'm looking for. But that's fairy dust. It doesn't exist. What we have to do is set up emotional regulation and set up our systems and habits to reinforce discipline for our long-term trading goals. That's the only way that I found success, and I would argue that that's how everybody finds success, is setting up your foundations correctly, to put it simply. All right, folks, that's all I got for you. This is great, John. I want to share something here to get some help when you're ready. Yeah, just throw it out there, man. I'm here for you guys. For those of you who joined up late, it was a pretty quick lesson, excuse me. But all this stuff is recorded and we can get it out to you guys as soon as I'm done with this. Yeah, absolutely. Most disciplined trader. I love it. I love it. I love it. Yeah, anything you guys got, shoot it out. For those of you who did just join up, how's your guys' Christmas? Any plans for New Year's? I think I'm planning on going camping. I don't know if it's going to land. I don't know. We're thinking about it. My girlfriend got me Theo Vaughn tickets back in my place in Alabama that she's going to fly out for. Got a spa day for tomorrow. I think we're planning on going to that. Super excited. A couple other stuff too. Really cool. Just chilling at my mom's for New Year's. Nice. Yeah, it's nice to take it easy. I set up all my pre-market tick boxes and do it all well, but your kicks in. Yeah, absolutely. Um, I see that. I see that every single day, every single day. So uh, if it's any consultation, you're not alone. But that's not what you're looking for. Looking for a potent, actionable tool to step forward and move away from that. So let me ask you, and it is a personal question: what is the hardest part of your day? Hopefully, it's not walking into the wife and kids. I hope it's not that. I'm talking about something that raises stress levels in a healthy way. So, working out raises cortisol levels in your bloodstream and in your brain. This is what I'm talking about. Are you doing anything that you don't want to do? You wouldn't deliberately choose to do unless you knew it was good for you, like going for a run, working out, take deliberate cold exposure like cold showers or cold plunge. Are you doing any of that? Or is the hardest part of your day, and you have to be honest, and if you don't want to put it out here, just be honest with yourself. What is the hardest part of your day? Because for most people, especially if you're in Western culture like myself, um, culture kind of is skewed towards how everything ought to be extremely comfortable. We set up ourselves financially to be comfortable. We set up our beds to be comfortable. We set up, and I'm not saying your bed shouldn't be comfortable, but we set up everything in our lives to be as comfortable as possible. And now, when we're faced with stressors in our life, we don't know how to handle them because we're not deliberately taking action to do stressful things. And so we're way worse off when stressful things happen. And the reason I bring this up is because when you sit down at your computer and you have potentially hundreds, or if not thousands of dollars on the line every single time you sit down at this computer, and if this is the hardest, most stressful part of your day, you have some primitive emotions working against you. Like I would say fear is number one and greed is number two. There's a mix of anxiety and worry, and there's hundreds of different emotions that can come with trading. But what I am saying is that trading is extremely difficult. Emotionally, it can be mentally taxing and it can be hard. It's just flat out, it's hard to do because of the cortisol and epinephrine and adrenaline that flood your bloodstream in your body. And so, what I found success in, and Scud, he's not on with us today, but I found it so cool. When I started making a pre-trade, it was really a pre-day, but a pre-trade routine where I took a cold shower. And if you haven't taken deliberate or done deliberate cold exposure in your past consistently, I'm not talking about going to a resort and you try a cold plunge for one time. I mean, making the disciplined decision and the difficult decision under your warm sheets to say, I'm going to go take a cold shower. And you get up and you do that, and you have this massive rush of adrenaline, epinephrine, and cortisol in your bloodstream, and dopamine, a few other chemicals as well. And you have to sit there, and your body's telling you to get out right now. All of the stress is on your body, but you focus and you breathe, and then after 30 seconds, 45 seconds, 60 seconds pass, you're able to breathe. You're able to accept it. It may not be the most enjoyable thing in the world, but all of a sudden, instead of that really shallow breath, you can actually breathe. You can take those deep breaths and you can focus. And now your body is way more primed to handle any other stressors throughout the day. So this stuff, when I talk about this stuff, I'm not just shooting facts at you. And I often leave out, have talked about habits that are beneficial for other people that I haven't tried before, but for the majority of my lessons, it's all stuff that I've done and I've found great improvement in. And that's why you'll hear me talk about journaling and cold exposure as some of the most potent, actionable, and cost free, essentially, besides the ink in your paper, it's cost free. And actually, I would argue it's cost savings, because if you take a cold or a shower in the morning anyway, you're going to save on that hot water bill. But anyway, let's see what you said. I love to rant. I've heard you talk about this cold shower. I don't like cold shower, but if you think it works, I'll do it. Exercise in the morning and meditate. Oh, that's awesome. That's good stuff. You may need a little more. And most people don't exercise, and most people don't meditate in, I should say, Western culture. But that's amazing that you are. But it sounds like you might need a little more, because you find yourself running into these high stressors that, induce fear in your life. And it can be difficult to do this stuff. But you have nothing to lose by taking these cold showers. You already work out, so maybe right after you work out, take a cold shower. Actually, it might not be beneficial for muscle recovery if you're doing resistance training, but maybe right as soon as you wake up, you take that cold shower before this meditation and your exercise. And then after your exercise, you can just rinse off with some warm water, whatever it might be. But the reason I bring this up is because it's incredibly powerful. And I was just talking about Scud, one of the members here. He tried 4 weeks ago. He had been trading for, I believe, 2 years or something. He can confirm. He's pretty active on here, so you can just ask him some questions. He's a nice guy. But he private messaged me, and he's like, hey, man, I've been, trading for a while. I have a deep understanding of what I'm looking for. I just can't seem to follow the plan. This discipline aspect is lacking. Things start to creep in, like revenge trading, and whatever it might be for you that you struggle with. I recommend it to him. Journal every single day. Take cold showers. If you don't take a cold shower in the morning, then you're not trading. And that's it. 4 weeks ago, I told him that. I think it was last week, he got a payout for a couple, I don't know, it was a couple grand. And he had, I don't know if that was his first payout ever, but it's pretty potent. It's pretty potent, and you can ask him. And for some people, it won't work. The way that meditation and working out may work for someone else, but it's not working for you. So this is just another method I highly recommend, and also journaling. We can talk about journaling if you want to as well. What's his name? Scud. I believe Scud or Scud. I think it's Scud, though, with a D as in Delta. But he's in here somewhere. He's just not with us today. But yeah, journaling is also super powerful if you want me to talk about that for a moment. Juan, what is up? Hey, John, it's really hard for me to take a cold shower in the morning. I always take a cold shower after my running session, but could not be able to take those showers during the morning. Well, that's what it is, man. That's what it is. I hate cold shower, and I take cold showers as often as possible. I know, and for me, understanding is super important, especially, as a kid, but even as I mature, if someone tells me to do something, but I don't understand why they want me to do it, it is so much more difficult for me to go do that thing. Like if I tell you to take a cold shower and you just have to take my testimony, like, hey, it's super beneficial for you. And you're like, okay, but I don't understand why it's beneficial. Look up, if you are like me and you really enjoy and it's helpful to have an understanding of why this stuff is beneficial, jump on hubermanlab.com and I'll type it out for you. Check out that website, and you can just he has a pretty nice search function. You can just look up deliberate cold exposure, and you'll have cold shower. You have thumbnails, you have entire episodes, all this stuff. You can dive into it as much as you want, or just dip your toes in. But understanding helps me, and there's some really, really robust and well done studies that show why deliberate cold exposure is so helpful. And here I am telling you that it works and helps me stay disciplined in trading. And Scud is another one that happened 4 weeks ago, could not get a payout. And now here he is 4 weeks later, just from journaling, taking cold showers, getting a payout. So, and that may not be enough for you, but my question to you would be, what do you have to lose by trying this thing? You have everything to gain by what I'm telling you, but you have nothing to lose. So, and potentially it could save you money on that hot water bill. So just go try it. And maybe you don't try it because, well, maybe you start right now, but maybe you do it as a New Year's resolution. I'm not someone to believe in New Year's resolution, but we're like 5 days away. So maybe just when we're talking about something so close to New Year's, maybe that's when we start. But maybe, yeah, tomorrow, dude, one, do it. But what is more important than just the first day is consistency. And I truly believe that to help build discipline to make that decision from your warm sheets. But you got to tell yourself the night before. You cannot make the decision the morning of because trust me, I know you will make 1,000 excuses. Every time I do it, if I don't say it, I'm going to do it the night before. It's like, oh, yeah, well, I actually woke up 5 minutes late. I gotta go do it. Whatever the excuse is, it happens. It's normal. Your body is telling you you don't want to get in this cold water, and that's the time when you. That's when I know, at least, when I'm trying to convince myself to not take a cold shower. That's when I rip off the sheets and I go take a cold shower because I know that that's what's beneficial for me, and that's where the understanding comes in from sources like HubermanLab.com, Dr. Andrew Huberman. But just try. There's nothing to lose, and there's a whole lot to gain. So do that, and I would start a minimum of a 90 seconds. 90 seconds, you could do it. Your body's going to tell you want to get out. Just literally, if you got a faucet like mine, you could turn it on and then go until right before the water shuts off. Get it as cold as possible, and you're going to hate it. If you're anything like me, you're going to hate it. You're going to hate it. You're going to hate it. But that's so beneficial. And a quick little thing before I release you guys, there's this part of your brain called the anterior mid-cingulate cortex for anybody who's nerdy like me and wants to look into it. It's a part of the brain that the only part of the brain that we know of that physically grows and retracts. And the way that it grows, and get this, I'm not kidding you, you could probably look it up on HubermanLab.com or just Google it, the anterior mid-cingulate cortex. It physically grows when we do things that we do not want to do. I said that correctly. It physically grows when we do things that we do not want to do. And when we reside in comfort and do things that we want to do every day, this part of your brain physically shrinks. Why is that important? This part of your brain is a center for dopamine release. And if we hear dopamine, it's kind of a buzzword, feel good chemical, whatever. But what dopamine truly is in charge of on a fundamental level is your willpower. That's why things like methamphetamine are so dangerous, is because not only the brain damage and all that, but methamphetamine will hijack dopamine centers of your brain. So all of a sudden your will to do things, your long-term goals, they fade away on a electrical and neurochemical level to where the only thing that matters now is getting your next high. That's why those drugs like that are so powerful, is because these areas of your brain that are the hubs of your dopamine are hijacked. But when we do things we don't want to do, like take cold showers, or maybe you haven't worked out in forever, maybe buying running shoes if you don't even have some, and just go for a jog. Start really slow. I'm not saying to go hurt yourself and go David Goggins something, but doing something deliberately hard will grow this part of your brain called the anterior mid-cingulate cortex, and it is a hub for dopamine release. And the more it grows, the easier it is to do things that you do not want to do. And I'll leave you guys with this. The reason we ought to be doing things the reason we should deliberately do hard things is because we don't have a choice when life hits us with hard things. But when we deliberately do hard things, we are way more ready for whatever life throws at us. In the same way, when you sit down at your desk and the most stressful part of your day is trading. Maybe you really enjoy working out, or it's part of a routine where you don't even think about it now. And that may be why it's not working anymore for you. Maybe for someone who has not worked out in a long time, all they have to do is work out to get that cortisol rush. And now that was the hardest part of their day. Now they can sit down and trade well. But for you, if you're like me, if that's something that is integrated 5-6 times of your weekly routine, maybe something like cold showers. Just doing something you do not want to do is so, so powerful on a biological level that I would argue that it's not only possible to improve your trading, but it's probable that it will improve your trading. And if I'm wrong, come back to me and shout it out, write it as a review, whatever you got to do. But I'm telling you, it works. And I highly, highly recommend it. So that's what I got for you guys today. Hopefully, today's lesson, I know as foundational as this stuff is, and as many times as you may have heard it before, it's so important that we focus our attention on the foundational steps of this skill set to improve on everything, on everything. So Merry Christmas, my friends. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow we're only running 2 sessions and it kind of bleeds into one. We're doing market open and then we're doing the prop firm giveaway. So you guys are all eligible for the prop firm giveaway. So join up. It'd be cool to see if you can't make it. I love you guys. I really do. And yeah, go do something hard. Go do something deliberately hard. And have a great day, folks.